everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Iona Athletics Podcast, your source for all the latest news surrounding the Iona Gaels. I'm your host, Mike Phillips. We got a good show for you this week. We're going to be joined in the studio in just a bit by the producer of all the ESPN3 productions of the games you've watched for men's basketball, women's basketball, soccer, all that good stuff. We're joined by Garrett Murray in just a bit. Garrett will talk about what it's like for him to work behind the scenes on those games. We'll take you inside our production truck. We'll give you all the good scoop there in terms of Garrett's interview. Make sure you're locked in until the end of the podcast for this week's upcoming schedule. It's going to be a busy one. This week is going to have some interesting stuff at the end of the week. Super Bowl Sunday, the basketball team's on the road. Some other stuff going on as well. But we'll get it all started with our weekly recap. And we will go in order because we got something pretty much every day this week. Let's start on Monday, January 20th. The women's basketball team won a 69-59 game against St. Peter's, their first home victory of the year. Cheyenne Moy finished with a game-high 20 points. She had her second straight 20-plus point effort. Paul Weeks picked up a career-high 13 rebounds. Iona's 49 second-half points were its highest total this year, so the Gaels finishing strong, getting in the win column there. Let's go ahead to Tuesday, January 21st. Egle Morinete was named the MAC Indoor Track and Field Female Performer of the Week, so congratulations to her. Wednesday, January 22nd, junior Jordan Van Rieken and redshirt senior Jordan Hale from Iona Women's Water Polo were named the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week for their performances out in California the previous week. Congrats to them. And the swimming and diving team was on action as well. They fell on the road at Fordham. Matt Anderson won the 1,000-yard race in a season-best time for the men's side. Women's program had 4 individual winners, but unfortunately did not come out on top in this one. Let's skip ahead to Friday, January 24th. The men's basketball team returned to Hines, picked up a 69-66 win against the Canisius Golden Griffs to pick up their second straight home win. Tawan Agee bounced back with a big way, 24 points, 6 boards against the Griffs. E.J. Crawford, 18 points. Dylan Von Eyck was a spark plug off the bench at 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. So a good old-fashioned stat sheet stuffing there for Dylan Van Eyck. Let's go ahead to Saturday, January 25th. The Gaels track and field program sent 3 runners to the John Terrier Classic in the 5,000 meter. Edward Goddard was the Gaels' top finisher with a 5th place finish in his first ever 5K. So good job, Ed. The rest of the indoor track and field team shine at the Dr. Sander Meet Columbia Challenge at the Armory. Jared Nuttall placed second in the mile race. Egle Morinete finished runner-up in the 3,000-meter event. Jack Hopkins finished second in the 3,000-meter race. Jack O'Leary took 5th place in the mile, so good effort from the track and field team at the Dr. Sander Meet. Women's water polo went up to Cambridge for a pair of matches, lost them both to Brown and Harvard. The Bears beat the Gaels 14-6, while Iona lost to 17th-ranked Harvard 10-4. And women's basketball was on the road. They lost to Manhattan 54-32 at Draddy Gymnasium. Juana Camilion scored 12 points. Monica Bearfield netted 8 for Iona in that game. And let's go ahead to Sunday, January 26th. Men's basketball fell to Monmouth at home 94-88. Tawan Agee scored 16 points, had a career-high 8 assists in the game. He was dishing the ball like crazy. Isaiah Washington, double-double, 25 points, 10 rebounds in the game. Unfortunately for him, they could not get the victory there. The athletics department also announced the 40th anniversary recognition of the men's basketball team's legendary win over number 2 Louisville. Members of that 1979-1980 team will be honored during the game against Rider on Friday, February 21st. So if you want to participate in that, get to be a part of reliving some history there, come on down on Friday the 21st to take a look back at the history-making win over Louisville from 1979-1980. And last but not least, the swimming and diving team was back in action again. They swept the Manhattan Jaspers in dual meets. Highlights included Matt Anderson winning the 200 and 500 meter freestyle on the men's side. Kate Flynn picking up victories in the 50, and 100 meter freestyle on the women's side. And that will do it for this upcoming week in Iona athletics. It was pretty busy, a lot of stuff going on. So soak that all in. But up next, we will take a look inside of our ESPN3 production truck with Garrett Murray. First, take a look at some behind-the-scenes footage of the truck in action. All right, we are back here on the Iona Athletics podcast. Joining me in the studio today is the man behind the scenes for the game productions. If you watch our games on ESPN Plus or ESPN3, we've talked to Austin Slaughter, who is the voice of the games, but none of this is possible without the guy I'm talking to today, the grad assistant who is in charge of the broadcast, Garrett Murray. Garrett, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm glad to talk to you today. And obviously, before you became a grad assistant, you were a student here at Iona, and you played on the baseball team. So tell me a little about your baseball playing days.
So I walked on my freshman year. Didn't really play much throughout my career, but being with the guys, being in that atmosphere is what changed me as a person and made me a better person. So I think baseball, I played my whole life, so I just love the team. I love the school.
The interesting thing about you is the fact that, like, when most people go to college, they go away from their parents, they move on. You did not really have that option because your dad works here.
No, I didn't. Well, I did have the option to go away. Iona was not my number one choice. My number one choice was Quinnipiac, and
that sounds like blasphemy for the Gael fans.
It is. But I just grew up with Iona. We'll get into my dad in a little bit, I guess. He's worked here for like 25 years, so Iona's like a second home to me. And I was able to get a very discounted rate on college.
That helps.
So that's what played a big part in me coming to Iona.
Yeah, so what is it like having a relationship with your dad, knowing that, he works here, you see him all the time, I'm sure, so.
So a lot of people would think that me and my dad would always be in each other's mess here at Iona. But me and my dad did a very good job over the past 4 years and this year to kind of stay away from each other while at school. But me and my dad have a very, very unique relationship. We're like best friends. It's more of a best friend relationship than a father and son relationship. Like, we rag on each other all the time. A lot of my dad's friends say, like, I can't believe you and your son, like, have that type of relationship. Like, they could never have it with their son, just the way we talk to each other. And he's my best friend. I wouldn't be here without him.
Yeah, you would not be here without him. And obviously, you go here, you graduate. So what brings about the opportunity to be a grad assistant?
So the grad assistant job kind of fell into my lap, to be honest. I was planning on coming to Iona for grad school either way. And then a couple days before my classes started, I got contacted by Brian Byer, who's my boss.
Over in athletic communications.
Yes, he's the director of athletic communications for Iona and the game producers of all the basketball games and stuff like that. So he contacted me about the position. It was a new direction that they were going into because of Steve Kotzel. He left. So they kind of wanted to keep it in a grad assistant position. So I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to do this.
And just to be clear, people, like, you did not exactly come from a media background. You were more of a business guy.
Yes, I'm a marketing major. My my grad school is in marketing. So I had little to none experience with this type of work.
So how much of a culture shock was it to walk into the office and be like, okay, you're responsible for airing all the games. You're going to be running the truck. You're going to be setting up all the equipment. How big a shock was it at first?
At first it was very overwhelming. But once I kind of got the flow of things, it's a lot easier than it looks. But on the other hand, if you watch a game, you think it's all coming from one spot, but it's not. So I think that was the biggest change to me, like how like we control certain commercials and stuff like that. Like it's a lot more into it, but it sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is.
Yeah, because the first time you walk in there, you're like, okay, I'm in the truck. I'm in charge of picking what camera angle goes on the air, what
Exactly.
time we have to go on the break, and keeping an eye on my
Exactly.
camera people so they're actually shooting the right things. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, and it's hard to explain. I feel like to people that don't really get it. Like it was very confusing to me when they explained it to me for the first time. I was like, wait, what? I have to do all that in one, but it all flows.
Yeah.
And you're in the truck with me.
Yeah, I'm usually sitting right next to Garrett during
Yep,
most games.
yep. It's the dream team up front. But it it's definitely a flow thing. Like if one thing doesn't work, something else isn't gonna work.
Y-
And we experience that a lot where it'll work one day and then it won't work the next day. And you're like, okay, now we have to find a new way to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are your some responsibilities as the new game guys? Like, what do you usually have to do?
So on game day, I try to set up most of the stuff the day before the game so we have more time to be ready for the start of the game. So I'll run wires for the cameras, set up the tripods. You help. All the student workers come and help. And then turning on the truck is a process.
As I just learned recently.
Yep. You can only do it one way. And then once we turn the truck on, we just make sure we're getting feed from every camera. We're hearing audio for the play-by-play announcers. And then in-game, my responsibilities mostly are, they call it the TD, so I'm the director. Flipping through cameras, 1, 2, and 3. We do a 3-camera setup most of the time. You're next to me on graphics. Then we have Aiden, the big man.
Yeah, who I like to joke is like a feuding couple in the truck with
Yes,
you and Aiden.
Yes, me and Aiden are a married couple. We do argue, but it's all fun. Argue. He's on the 3-play, which is the replay system and clipping stuff, and so I'm just I guess in charge of what goes out onto the broadcast. Like we work as a team in the truck, me, you, and Aiden. Like we work very, very well in the truck together. So we all just put ideas together and try to put out the best broadcast.
Yeah, and we recently you let me have the chance to actually be you for a game, so I got to actually direct for a game. And seeing how the other side is, I'm like, man, like I would not want to be Garrett all the time. It's so hard.
It's a little stressful, especially once the game starts. It's not as stressful. It's the hour. So if a game starts at 1, that hour from 12 to 1 is the most stressful part of the job.
Yeah,
It's getting the pre-record done, making sure everything works, making the transmission test works. That's probably the most stressful part.
Yeah, when Garrett says the pre-record, all he means is like when you watch the beginning of a basketball game, you see the announcers on the screen. We have all that footage of the players warming up and all that.
Yeah.
That stuff is done in advance before the game starts. It's not happening live.
Yeah, we're doing that about 45 minutes before game time. It's not live. Sometimes we will do a live intro if we can't get the pre-record to work. We have done that for numerous soccer games, right?
Yeah, a lot of soccer.
Yeah. So pre-record's pretty easy. The play-by-play guy and the analyst guy, they work very well with me. Both the women's, Austin Stellato, like you said, is the voice of mostly the women's games and the soccer games. So me and him work very well together.
Yeah, it's a good pairing. And so, like, obviously, you talk a little bit about this, but, like, tell me a little bit more about what's like being inside that truck during the actual game.
Inside the truck is smooth. It can get hectic, like we kind of saw in the last game with going to commercial break and stuff like that. If like something crashes, like it did yesterday.
Stuff can happen.
Yeah, but me, you, and Aiden work very well together in the truck, so like it doesn't really get too hectic in there. Like sometimes, like I don't know how to explain it, but
It's a little fun. It gets fun in there.
yeah, like sometimes we have some fun. That's a good word for it. Like we communicate, we talk, but we're also working at the same time. It's like a mix of both worlds.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun being in that truck. I think you would agree. This is like you can sort of like control what people are seeing. Like when you could pick like, oh, I want to show this replay. I'm not going to show this one. So like
Yeah,
you have a
so
lot of power in the truck.
I do have a lot of power. So Aiden sits behind me on the 3 play, and he'll say if he has the replay of the previous play or not. And if I can't get it off in time before the
The play starts again.
play starts again, I won't take it, and it's okay. But we can clip it and save it for maybe something later in another dead stoppage point.
Yeah, so like those sequences you see sometimes you come out of the commercial and like, oh, like here are the last couple of bands. The stuff that we're doing in the truck.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun being in that truck. And what part of this job do you enjoy the most?
Clean up? No. Probably just being in the truck the most. Because I do have responsibilities outside the truck in the office for athletic communications. But doing the games is definitely my favorite part. Because I get to watch sports. And
you get paid to watch sports and broadcast sports.
yes. I grew up watching sports, and I'm going to die watching sports. And that's what makes me happy.
Good stuff. Garrett Murray, the director of the broadcast program here, working under Brian Beyer and with John Stanko, which on this podcast for, and Jack Clark. Garrett, thanks for all the time coming by the studio. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, and there you have it. That was our interview with the producer of the ESPN 3 games for Iona's athletics department, Garrett Murray. For our full interview with Garrett, check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/ICGales.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race to you.
All right, we are back. It is time to look ahead to the upcoming week in Iona athletics. Not a ton happening here, but we'll go through it as always. We'll start on Friday, January 31st. The track and field team will be down at the Metropolitan Championships down in the city in New York. So track and field heading down there. Men's basketball, home game, taking on Siena at 7 at the Heinz Athletic Center. So you want to come out and watch the men's basketball team in a home MAC matchup, come on down on Friday the 31st. Saturday, February 1st, women's basketball taking on Quinnipiac at 1 at the Heinz Athletic Center. And this is going to be a busy day on campus as well. This is the celebration of the 50th anniversary of women's sports teams at halftime of this game. So you want to come out and see something special, come on down to this game at 1 at the Heinz Center. And finally, Sunday, February 2nd, Super Bowl Sunday, in fact. Before you watch the big game, you can check out men's basketball as they head down the road to Riverdale for a matchup with their fierce rivals, the Manhattan Jaspers. That game will be on early in the day, so check out that game before you watch the big game at night. And that will do it for the upcoming week in Iona athletics. For all the latest news, game times, information, anything you could possibly want to know about Iona athletics, visit our website, www.icgales.com. You can also follow us on social media. Search for our handle at @ICGales across all major social media platforms. We'll have a brand new episode coming out of the Iona Athletics podcast next week. Until then, keep fighting the good fight, Gale Nation.